a second video on spine mechanics, and we're going to look at the loading on the spine. And before we look at the loading on the spine, we'll just figure out why we're looking at the loading, and that is because when we're dealing with injury or prevention of injury, we need to know the loads on the spine and try to avoid any loads that are greater than the tolerance or the strength of the spine. So the first load is compressive forces. So those are squeezing forces. If we're standing, we can have a compressive load on our spine, so the disc will be squished together. Second type of load is flexion, so a bending load. So if we lean forward to touch your toes, you will put your spine into flexion, and that will create a tensile load on your facet joints and the supraspinous ligament, and a tensile load on the posterior part of your annulus fibrosus, and a compressive load on the anterior parts of your vertebral bodies. You can also have a shear load, which occurs when actually you're just standing normally because you have a lordotic curve in your spine, which is normal, but without any sort of muscle activation, your motion segments or your vertebral bodies start to translate anteriorly over the one below that. So here's your sacrum. You have L5, L4, and L5 can create a shear loading over your sacrum. This can also bending forward and just hanging forward, trying to touch your toes will also create a shear load, an anterior shear load on your spine. So in general, to reduce tissue damage or to avoid injury, researchers have come up with a few types of loadings to avoid. You don't want excessive compression, so you want to reduce your compressive loads, reduce activities that require repeated flexion, reduce activities that require full flexion or full extension. You want to minimize your shear loads, and believe it or not, sitting has quite a high amount of loading on your spine.